today. This is Trisha Schmalhofer with BAM, Badasses, Alchemists, and Mystics. I'm here today with the lovely manifesting goddess, Tasha Chen.
Yay! I made it!
I'm
a badass alchemist and mystic.
You are. You're now in the club.
I'm in the club. I made it. It's official.
Believe me, she's been in the club way before it was even formed. She is a vision of badassery, alchemy, and mysticism. I'm just so glad to have you here. Tasha's been a mentor of mine in 2019. And I've done pretty much every program that you have out there.
This is true.
Yes, but it is so rich and wonderful and really touches all areas of, it touched all areas of my life. And I met you last December. It's been about a year.
It's a year, yeah.
Yeah, and so Tasha, welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so your main business is the Science of Getting Rich Academy.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. What is that and how did you start that?
Well, as you'll come to find out with me, there's a story for everything.
Yes, there is.
So I'll make this story really quick, but I have always had the desire to be an entrepreneur, and I gave up my corporate job and went after the American dream to own a business, and I did it. I succeeded, crazy levels of success, and then I failed. And I decided, okay, I did everything they said I should do, and I failed. Now I'm going to try again, and I'm just going to do it my way, and I'm going to see what happens next. So I went about, I was in a really dark place at the time, and I went to be introduced to this couple who, when I met them, they had everything. Like, they were happy, they were healthy, they were super wealthy, they were free, I was like, wait a minute, this really does exist. And I guess the husband, looking at my face, thought, okay, clearly she wants to know how we did this. Right. And so he walks over and he says, everything that you see here is because of this book. And he gave me The Science of Getting Rich.
And the author is Wallace D. Wattles. Yes. Yeah. Written in
1910.
1910.
So
yes.
I say The Science of Getting Rich is like the grandfather of all the personal development stuff, because it was written, just the earliest of all the ones that I know of, even before Napoleon Hill. So he gives me this book. And you would think I would go home and read it, right? That's what you would do if a multimillionaire gave you a book and said, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. No, I waited till things got worse, and finally read the book, and it's 63 pages, and it changed my life. And I kind of turned it into a little science experiment where I was like, wait a minute, every time I read this book, good things happen. Now I'm going to try to decide what good things I want to happen before I read the book and see how that works. And so I started doing it. I met my best friend, and we started doing it together. At the time, I was leading an organization of female entrepreneurs, and I could tell that this thing that was working for me could really help them. So I started sharing it with them, and that's the way our business was born. The Science of Getting Rich Academy was born like pretty much as organic as it comes in terms of creating a business.
Mm-hmm. I just want to shout out to a couple of people that on the Facebook Live, I can't read it from here, Bernita. Hi, she's saying good afternoon. And I see Brenda Swanson. Hi, Brenda. We're going to feature Brenda's products a little later. Brenda's wonderful. So, so the Science of Getting Rich, that's part of your program that I did. And the language is so basic and simple. And yes, written in 1910. But he talks about, he's very pragmatic and simple, and he talks about doing things a certain way. And then he lays it out chapter by chapter what this certain way of living and it's guaranteed richness if you live this certain way. So I think what I want to define, because for me, I do have, doing your program, I do have more richness in my life. Some of it is in the form of money.
Yes.
But what I've learned through doing all of this is that richness to me is so much more than money.
Yes.
And, there's so many things I want to talk about, but I think for me, richness is also love and good relationships and having relaxed time, not overworking. Because one of the things I learned at the manifesting event last year, you do this this exercise where you look at your money story. And I looked at my family, and I come from a line of hardworking business owners, and you have to work your tail off. And if you want more money, you have to work harder. More. And you understand that. So I've been, if it's like, oh, I want more income, so I have to work more hours, and I would get sick and tired and exhaust myself. But richness is also allowing money to come so I can let it go back out again, and so I can enjoy life. I don't always have to be working.
Yeah.
So that was a big shift for me.
Well, congrats. That's huge, because at the end of the day, we're talking about quality of life stuff here, right? So understanding how to live by the universal principles that are always at work so your life can be easier and better, to me, is the best work to do. Like, if I'm going to work at anything, I would rather put my energy and my effort there than my physical effort, which only creates finite results, right? I can only work 24 hours of the day versus applying universal principles and have that infinite source work for me. I'd rather put my bets on that. So, yeah.
And my favorite thing is, sometimes the best inspired action is to take a nap.
Yes.
And taking a nap is allowing the universe or God or whatever that concept for you is to do what it does and take your mental out of it.
Yeah.
To just let things line up.
Yeah. So one of the things that our coaching clients find quite appealing is when, as a mentor, I say, okay, your homework is this week to take as many naps as you feel inspired to take. Like, take a nap, for God's sakes. Leave some space in your life for magic to happen. Because what we do is we are working and we're using our effort to create results. And it's like this. There's no space for the universe to come in and create for us, or God or source. There's no space. It's you trying to do it. Well, how's that working for you?
Right.
Yeah.
And
I can tell you, I've taken naps and woken up with the most inspired thoughts, or just a phone call coming in, or an email I received while I was napping. And it's like, gosh, why don't I do that more often? Why do I keep trying to work so damn hard?
It's true.
Yeah.
The more that I try to work and do it myself, the more I'm blocking that inspiration.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing from your program that really I've been really good about incorporating is having a morning routine.
Yeah.
And meditation is a big part of that for me. And that's another thing that might not be my nap, but it's kind of similar, where I'm just quieting my mind. And then it's almost always when I come out of that meditation, there it comes, blah, 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 the downloads, right? The information is just being downloaded in, and then I'll write it down. And then I personally try to put in some physical movement into my morning meditation. And then, of course, there's time to pet my cat, because that's just part of my enjoyment of life.
Yeah.
That's
rich for you.
Yes.
Right?
It's rich for me. And I do it by my big window and look out, and I have trees and flowers and butterflies and birds and sometimes a little turtle going by. And I just let nature just talk to me. Yeah. And that is richness for me.
Yeah. And if it's okay, just want to inspire everyone listening, because you made such a big point of this, is I found that those years where I was struggling to create success, I didn't really know what rich meant for me, Tasha. right? So listening to you say you feel rich when you sit by your window with your cat in the morning looking out at nature and realizing you've created a life where you can sit for ease for a few minutes and be with your cat, and the joy that that brings you, that makes you feel rich.
It does.
Right?
Yeah.
I didn't even know what would make me feel rich. I thought it was working harder and making more money. I thought that's what it was.
Yeah.
So really taking the time to define, what does rich mean to you?
Do you find that people that come into your events and program have a hard time coming up with what they even do want, what they desire? Is that a common thing? I know it was for me.
I think most people have a general idea that they want life to be better in some way, right? They want life to be better, and they perceive the logical social things like that's going to mean more money, a relationship, a bigger house, right? A nicer car.
Travel
is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think people have a general idea. And then as we go through the process, one of the things that I love to guide people on is, now let's make that real, visualize it. And then people go blank. It's like, I might have a general idea, maybe I can write it down, but it can't be real enough in my mind for me to see it in my mind's eye. And that's where I think most people really get challenged.
So visualizing what you want is a really key thing in the science of getting rich.
Yeah.
It's thoughts
Yeah.
and then holding that thought. So feeling the feelings is important.
Yeah.
What does it feel like when you have those things that you really want to give a fulfilling life or freedom, and then visualizing that?
Yeah.
So how can people do that?
So I'm going to take this back to the basics, right? Because I feel if you're watching badass alchemists and mystics, I'm going to assume you know about the law of attraction.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found really intriguing about the law of attraction was learning about my inner power to create external results. Like, that was super appealing to me. Like, what? I have a superpower?
Mm-hmm.
Now I want to know how to use that.
Well, and that's what an alchemist is
Right.
you're going from one state to another. That is a superpower.
It is.
Yes.
And so as I personally started playing with my own, like, wow, how does this work? How do I do it? I realized that the law of attraction teachings talk a lot about getting clear on what you want. In fact, even in the science of getting rich, it's like, listen, if you're going to send a message to your friend, and this was written in 1910, so they used telegraphs, right?
Yes, they did.
It's like, you can't just send the alphabet and expect your friend to figure out what you're trying to say.
Right.
You got to be really clear. And it's the same thing with the universe or formless substance or source, whatever you call it. It needs to know exactly what you want. And so now you've figured that out for yourself. And the next step in the science of getting rich, it says now you have to hold that image
Yes.
onto this creative substance that's going to bring it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I understood about that is I have to see it so clearly in my mind, right? That when it's so clear that if it's going to make me cry, I'm crying. If it's going to make me laugh, I'm laughing.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to make me just be joyous out of my skin, like right now, even imagining this future outcome, I'm feeling that in the now. So for me, what I realized that there's not enough talk about with the law of attraction is how important this is for you to tap into, make it so real to yourself that you feel the emotion you perceive you will feel when it's manifested. And here's a little key insight. The universe responds to your feeling.
Yes.
It's how you are feeling. So you can write it out and journal all day. You can sit and see the pictures in your mind. You can do a vision board. You can do all that. Mm-hmm. But if there's no emotion from within you tied to those things, you're not applying your power. Mm-hmm. And that's why when you visualize, you have to, like 8 out of 10 times, I'm crying in the mornings when I do my visualization. It is so real to me. You know, my daughter once said at 6 years old, Mom, how do I know if when I'm dreaming it's the real world or when I'm right now talking to you? Like, how do I know? And I was like, you smart little 6-year-old.
Yeah, I know. Children are so smart.
Yeah. So yeah. The feeling is key.
That's, and we hear about emotions that they're like not a good thing, but what you're saying is that's what the universe feeds on. That's what brings it to us, is that those good feelings that are behind the vision. Well, we're going to keep going with this in just a minute, but we're going to go to our first break. And before we do, I want to feature a badass business and product. And this is Body by Brenda. Look at that. Those that are on the video, look how gorgeous she is. Tasha and I both have personal experience with the body butters, and they are wonderful. And I looked at the ingredients, and they are pure. There is no crap in these.
I have to pause myself because I get them delivered once a month. And let me just tell you, I feel like I leave the spa every morning when I put them on.
Yes. And Brenda, they are made with therapeutic grade oils, and she has a couple different flavors. The one I have is the citrus, and it just smells so clean, and I love that. But she made these products because she kept noticing she had to keep reapplying the stuff that was out there, and she wanted to make something that would stay on the skin. So she has bath salts that she recommends taking a bath. Talk about richness, right? Luxury. And you put the salt on, you come out with your skin still damp, and then you apply the body butters, and it just penetrates right into the skin. So she's doing 25% off through December 20th, and there's a discount code of BBB25. Is that what it says, Jesse? Yes, BBB25. So if you order it from brendaswanson.com, use that code to get 25% off. You won't be sorry if you try these. We'll be right back in just a minute.
You're listening to Space Coast Podcast, home of the greatest podcasts on the Space Coast. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor or having your own show, email us at spacecoastpodcast@hotmail.com. Space Coast Podcast. Talk hard!
All right. This is Doug Monda.
This is Karen Monda.
And Chris Hadaway.
And we're the host of Survive, the new podcast brought to you by the Survive First Foundation, a nonprofit organization assisting first responders and their families in need of mental health support due to the lifestyle of being a first responder. So, Chris, tell us what we're going to have.
We're coming to you from retired and active law enforcement officers as well as their spouses to discuss the responder life.
Don't forget, this is an unedited and raw podcast, so we need your interactive suggestions and advice to help us help others.
So find us live on our Survive First Facebook page and join in the conversation, or find us on demand on Spotify, iTunes, or anywhere you listen to podcasts, from the Space Coast Podcast Network to you.
All right. We're back. Tasha Chen is here in the studio. BAM, Badasses, Alchemist Mystics. And I just want to give a shout out to some people that are tuned in on the Facebook Live. Hi, Joanna. Bernita, hi again. You're commenting a lot. Thank you so much. Brenda, Sarah Ross, Brian Balboa. Thank you so much for tuning in. And, we're going to welcome, as we get into this, you can put your questions on. That's my phone. I do that all the time. I get feedback. Sorry about that. Do put questions because we can answer them. We have the board up so we can watch. All right. So we were just talking about the feelings. The feeling is what the universe responds to. Yeah. Even though the thoughts in all of the law of attraction, like the Esther Hicks and the Joe Dispenza, and there's so many out there now, The Secret.
Yeah.
What makes it different? What makes your program different from them? I mean, they're all good, right? But why is yours different than like Esther Hicks?
So I obviously am a student of this work, and one of the things that I found that I needed, just me, so I really created something that I would need, is it was like reading a great book or watching The Secret and being totally inspired, or going to see Esther Hicks and being like,
Right.
wow. Or even Joe. I haven't been to see Joe, but reading his books or listening to his YouTube things. And then it's like, and then that ends. And then what? Right? That was the thing. So I knew when I first got into this process or this way of living, I needed to be supported in doing it every single day for the rest of my life. I needed support. And so what I found is, while all of those amazing people are contributing to this body of work, there was a piece that was missing, which was the ongoing support. Right? Because it's like you hear this new piece of information for the first time, you're like, all your senses are tuned in and turned on and you're excited, but then you go home. And then your kids come at you, or you need to pay a bill, or whatever happens. And it's like that just went out the window, where this thing could change your life, you know, but it requires that you practice it. And so we created the Science of Getting Rich Academy so that people could be supported in practicing living like this every day.
Right. So here's my little workbook for people that are watching. You want to hold that up, Jesse, to the camera? So this is the workbook that I got when I signed up. I know, right? I've got all my little props.
Cool.
And so this has the Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles in here, but it's broken down into chapters. And then, you know, you can highlight it and write in the borders, but then there's questions afterwards.
Yeah.
And they really are thought-provoking. And then there's a Facebook page where you can go on with the other people in the program at the time. And you have a lot of different Facebook groups to catch different interests. The Money Attraction Challenge. You have a lot.
Yeah.
So it's helping you apply it to your life, instead of, like you're saying, just going and then, you know, because I could read the book.
Right.
And then it's a good book, and I might, you know, think about it for a week or two or maybe a month afterwards.
Yeah.
And then it kind of like, then it's life as usual.
Yeah. Next book.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, I think the thing I want to move on to next is journaling. Journaling is a really big thing for you. I'm going to admit I'm not the best journaler.
That's okay. I'll forgive you.
You know, I've noticed a lot of overthinkers that I work with in my practice. Like, I'll ask if they journal, and they're like, "No, you know, I'll try it for a little while." Or their way of journaling is just basically dumping all of their thoughts on paper. They're just writing out, and it's not really. It's not really doing anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's just keeping them in their thought process. So I don't know if you can get too far into it, because that's part of your program, is teaching people the detailed way of doing it. But how important is journaling, or is there anything you can share about journaling?
Yeah, so I had it's kind of strange how the universe works, because on Monday I did a Facebook Live where I shared a journal entry of mine from 10 years ago. So I was 30. I was 25. I mean, I was 25.
Be proud of your age.
And
be proud.
And I noticed that I found this journal, and I was really being really hard on myself. I was literally like documenting my awareness. Like, you're being a bad mom. You're procrastinating. You're not going after your goals. You're right. And I was just like, I was honest, brutally honest with myself. And so it was like, okay, I captured that. Now what? And on my journey, on this Facebook Live, I shared that I realized, oh my gosh, like, I was in such a state of awareness at that time. It was such a powerful moment for me to create the opposite. But I didn't know. All I thought to do was just acknowledge the crappy time I was having in my life.
So you're reinforcing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So fast forward, a few years go by, everything, I literally wrote in my journal, by the way, that I feel like the crap's about to hit the fan. And subsequently, I filed bankruptcy, got divorced, lost my business. Like everything, I was sensing happened. Fast forward, I'm divorced. I'm unemployed. I have no business, no anything. Money is a constant fear of mine. Pretty much everything at this point is a constant fear of mine. And I realize, wait a second. Everything that I'm worried about and documenting is expanding. It's getting worse. It's materializing. What if every time I had those fears, instead, I wrote the opposite? What would happen? And really, that's the way I thought about it. What I was doing was I was creating what I wanted. So then every time I had a fear, and it was really the heaviest ones were money. I had 2 kids and a mortgage, right?
Yeah.
So every time that money fear came up, like you're not going to be able to pay the mortgage, you can't pay the bills, what are you going to do? You have no income. I would grab that journal, and instead of documenting that, I would start writing exactly, I am so grateful. I have more than enough money. The bills are all paid. I have a business that's thriving. And I literally would start to write what I wanted to see materialize in my life. And so when you say I'm a fan of journaling, like I love journaling the way a woman loves a man.
Right.
Like it's like serious talk in love with journaling.
Yeah. And she has, when you see, like she'll show you like shelves and shelves of journals. But this follows in with what we were just talking about, that you're putting that feeling into the pages, and that is what the universe responds to.
And there's a other little thing about journaling that feeds. So if you were to have steps, the first thing would be to journal, because it allows you to get your mind clear on what you want. Like you can't write it out without having some level of clarity, right? So when you go to journal, you're becoming clear. So once you've written it out, now when you go to visualize with those emotions, it's a lot easier because you've already written about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like you're already putting it into your brain and your being. So then it's law of attraction.
Exactly.
So this is it, applying the law of attraction.
Yep.
And Tasha found a really interesting way of doing that. So I think the other part I want to get into, there's a lot of parts I want to get into, but that I got from the program was understanding core beliefs. And I mentioned in the beginning that at the manifesting event last year, and we're going to talk about the one that's going on in 2020 coming up here. You did a story where you did an exercise where you go back and you see what the story, your family money story is. And then there's other exercises where you look at these beliefs, and a lot of times around money, we have a lot of blocks, and they're not even from us.
Right.
They were given to us through our parents or through friends or through society or religion,
Right.
that being rich is not a saintly, godly thing.
Yeah.
So one thing, do you have anything to say about the beliefs?
Well, I feel like ultimately this conversation is geared towards sharing with people how they can have the lives that they want, right?
Yeah.
That's really it. And what I found on my journey was I was doing all the right things to create the life I want. I was journaling, visualizing. I was textbook. You told me what to do and I was doing it. And then I would find myself in a behavior pattern or a thought pattern that was like, what do you mean that's there? What do you mean that's still there? What do you mean I'm still worried about money? I've been doing everything, all the books and the programs and everything has to say about it. And ultimately what I realized was that I had a belief that was so deeply embedded in my subconscious mind that no amount of work could sugarcoat it. I needed to get to that belief, right? Because a belief is just a thought you think over and over and over till it becomes true. Mm-hmm. And so anyone that's wanting to live the most amazing life that's available to them and are truly doing the work to create that, but still feel like they're getting stuck, I promise you, here, look into my eyes. I promise you have a belief that you shouldn't have the thing you're going after. That's the bottom line.
Everyone does.
Everyone does. And you got to start there. You got to go back to that belief and work on that belief and clean it up. And then all the work that you're doing will create the results that you want.
And I can tell you from a person that's been doing self-work for years of uncovering like shadow aspects, beliefs, things that are limiting me, things that need to be cleared. It's an ongoing process. It's layers.
Oh my gosh, I found one this morning.
I know. I know. Well, there's always little pieces of us that want some attention, or that is still playing an old tape from an old thing, or you might get to a level of abundance. Like I went through a period of poverty. Like I didn't have a lot of money, and I was supporting a few people on a small income. And even after I was out of that situation, I heard myself saying, well, I'm poor, so I can't do that. Wow. Perfect example. Yes. And one day I heard myself say the words, and I said, I can't. If I keep saying I'm poor, I'm going to be poor forever. Yeah. So I'm going to start shifting. And that was one that I had just heard myself say. And when I finally changed that story is when I changed jobs. I started a business. I never looked back. I just started getting abundance for the first time in my life. Oh my gosh. I know. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is how it is, I'm doing what I love and money's coming, and then I can spend money. I put it back out. Money is supposed to be recycled, and it comes to you and it goes back out to somebody else. That is the universal flow for expansion and growth. Absolutely. So I think, we have to go to another break. I love talking about this. Money is a tool that it's energy. It's so we can live our best life. That's it. There's nothing bad about it. And yes, we can choose to hoard it and, manipulate it, but what is that? That's causing feelings of lack and, and restriction. Yeah. The most neutral way I find to talk about it is if I were to say to you, Trisha, what do you mean you want more oxygen so you can breathe? Right. You selfish person. Right. Right. It wouldn't even make sense. And money is the same thing. It is the same thing. Yeah. And when finally that clicks, it's amazing at how God responds to that. Yeah. So more on that when we come back, because this is important stuff. This is good shit. So before we go to the second break, I want to feature Angie Reed. She's another one of our lovely ladies that we worked with this year. She developed the flow method, which is a trademark technique that combines the power of essential oils with the healing benefits of reflexology to empower others with the tools to address many issues that typically would require a visit to quote unquote doc in the box. She's so cute. Her logo is Feet Love Oils. That's her little trademarked logo. And Angie's just a breath of fresh air and a ray of sunshine. Sure. She works with doTERRA oils, but you can use the flow method with any oils. But if you are interested in getting in touch with Angie to either get trained in the flow method or to learn more about doTERRA oils, call her at 770-356-4443 or go to feetloveoils.com. We'll be back right after this.
You're listening to Space Coast Podcast, home of the greatest podcasts on the Space Coast. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor or having your own show, email us at spacecoastpodcast@hotmail.com. Space Coast Podcast. Talk hard!
Are you in the market for a new home? Perhaps you need to sell your old home and downsize or relocate. Hey there, my name is Jesse Hall with eXp Realty, and I offer professional real estate services right here on the Space Coast. Give me a call, 321-877-8737 for all of your real estate needs. Again, 321-877-8737 for all of your real estate needs. Buy, sell, invest with the best. Find out more at 321-BuySellInvest.com.
Hey, I'm Vinny with the all-new Vinny Marino podcast. I want you to join me every other Monday as we tackle all the craziest headlines from around Florida and truly explore and uncover what's missing. Also, we will invite the exciting guests from our community who have seen it all and aren't afraid to spill the beans about it. And finally, we can't forget about Vinny's top 3 rants and raves about traffic, restaurants, and events. Join us on Facebook as we go live and bring you behind the scenes of each show and let you be a part of it. The Vinny Marino Podcast, all Space Coast, super raw and unedited, straight to your dome all the time, live from the Space Coast Podcast Studios. Listen everywhere you find podcasts.
All right, we are back. This is Trisha Schmalhofer with Tasha Chen with BAM, Badasses, Alchemists, and Mystics. And yes, we both are BAMs, I'll tell you. Thank you for everyone that's watching and commenting. And Sarah, I see that you too have a little hard time with journaling, so we can relate to each other there. And she also says that you are good at breaking down learning into smaller chunks and help us to explore those chunks in our lives with support as the fears and limiting beliefs come up. So she's given you some accolades there.
Well, thank you, Miss Sarah.
Yes.
Mwah.
Yay. So I want to go into another big concept that is part of the Science of Getting Rich Academy is gratitude.
Yeah.
And the importance of having that air of gratitude in life. And I think this kind of stacks into what we've been talking about, right? With the universe responds to the feelings. And so if we have this gratitude feeling that we are blessed to have what's coming to us before it gets to us and what we currently have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to admit something.
Go for it.
Right here.
You're in
on
safe
the air.
hands.
So I had a hard time with this.
Wow.
And I always thought that I was a grateful person because I'm a very positive person. The glass is always full, not even half full. It's full.
Yeah.
But when we were doing some of the exercises, I almost felt like, man, I've worked hard for what I have. Like, I thanks God for helping me, but I had to work my tail off. And at the time, I really was working my tail off because I wasn't allowing God. And, I could say, hey, thanks for getting me out of that, or thanks for letting that work out. But you had given me an assignment to somehow look at evidence of how God was working in my life. And I came up with this wacky, I always have to do things different because that's just who I am. But I came up with this wacky, web where I looked at, all these different aspects of my life and, how they all linked together and all, harmonized. And when I was done, it was 3 pages of all these webs,
Yeah.
and how I met this person, that led to this, and that went over here. And I looked at it then, I said, there's no way I could ever organize this.
Yeah.
This is God.
Yeah.
This is God working in my life because I can't do this.
Yeah.
So I can do inspired action. I can do small actions, but pretty much the heavy lifting is God's job.
Yeah.
And I need to have gratitude that there's things that I can't even think of that are happening.
Yeah.
That are delivering my richness to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember reading the chapter on gratitude in the Science of Getting Rich, and it described gratitude as having a feeling of deep and profound gratitude. And I was like, that for me sounds like a little bit more than what I've been doing. You know, like I've been like, thank you for food, thank you for shelter, thank you my kids are safe and well, and it's very general, right? And I remember when I read Deep and Profound Gratitude, because I was committed to changing my life. So whatever this book said to do, I was going to do. And I realized it wasn't just about being grateful. It was another level of gratitude. And it was also beyond the deeper feeling of gratitude, which I'll talk about in a little bit. It was also about people generally express gratitude for what's here right now. Right?
Yes,
It's like,
yes,
I'm
yes.
grateful I woke up to a roof over my head. I'm grateful there's food in the fridge. I'm grateful I can pay the bills. And maybe they sometimes go back to, I'm grateful I got myself out of that situation. So they may go back a little bit to the past. But there's this whole opportunity to be grateful for what you're asking for from the future.
That's the difference.
Yeah. And here's the thing. You can't express deep and profound gratitude for something that you're asking for in the future unless you have the faith that you're getting it. Like, you can't lip service that kind of gratitude. You know, you can't, I mean, sure, you can go, and I'm grateful that I'm going to be a millionaire. But like, it's not deep and profound gratitude. Like, if you're not, like, when I think about the American Airlines arena and filling it up, which is my vision,
That's her vision.
cry in gratitude because I feel like I'm there, it's happened, it's done, and I am on my knees saying thank you, right? So that's the level of real it gets for me, and then I can be that level of grateful.
Right.
And what I understood from living the certain way that the Science of Getting Rich talks about is, okay, so there is this source from which everything you want is created. Let's just say energy. Everything originates as energy, right? And there is a way that you can stay connected to this source that everything you want has. I was like, tell me more.
Yes. What is this source?
What is this source? Not even what's in the source, but how do I stay connected to it was what I
Yes.
wanted to know. And the Science of Getting Rich explains that the only way to stay connected to that source is to be in constant gratitude.
Yes.
Like, your constant mental chatter is thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like, you're just constantly, if you live like this, like right now I'm sitting here in crazy gratitude for this moment with you, with Jesse, with all the technology that gets created so we can do this. Like, I could not think another thought but thank you all day long.
Yeah.
Right? There's so much to be grateful for. And for everyone that's interested in this, who, again, you've been trying to create the life you want and feel like there's an easier way to do it. And I'm here to tell you, the more you practice being grateful is the more inexplicable things are going to begin happening for you that you have to go on your knees and go, this is not me. I couldn't, as amazing as I am, and I'm pretty darn awesome, I could not have orchestrated this. Like, you know what I mean? There is no way. This past summer, I was sitting on the beach with a friend, and we were going to do an event in the UK, and she was just like, okay, we've been hanging out too much. We really need to talk business. How many people do you think, this is July 16th. The event is September 8th. No joke.
Okay.
If you're planning an event, this is not the way to do it. And she says, okay, serious, let's just have a talk about this. How many people do you want in the room? And out of my back pocket, I say, well, how about 120? Like, I don't know. Like, right? Why not? Why not say that? Clearly, logically, that's impossible. It's July 16th. The event's in a month. But we showed up to that event a month and a half later to 150 people in the room. Now, I am all kinds of awesome, but I got to tell you, that was not me.
Right.
That was not me, right? So I have so many examples of how my gratitude practice just keeps rewarding me with amazing life experiences. And that, Trisha, I'm telling you, you know my story. I'm a reformed workaholic, perfectionist, all that stuff. And when I understood that just by being grateful for good things, more good things would come, I was like, wait a minute. Hang on. Like you said, you mean all this hard work stuff that I've bought into, like there's another way? I mean, that just blew my mind. Just be thankful for good things when they come, and more good things will come to you. That's like a
it's
law.
very simple. Yeah, it is a law.
Yeah.
There are universal laws in play here. And you have so many of those little evidence stories where like you throw out a number or you're just thinking of that person or you're thinking, how in the heck is that going to happen? There it is. And this isn't, you stop saying stuff like, I know this is weird, but because it just, your whole life becomes these connections and these wonderful gifts. And it just becomes part of the magic. You mentioned magic earlier, and this really is about living a magical life. Yeah. And I know that a lot of people, I know for me, I wanted to travel and now I'm saying, okay, I want to travel a little bit because I like being home too. And that's the thing, like our desires will change and flow. Right. And you can, for a while, I didn't want to like set intentions because if I set this intention, then it happens. What if it's not what I really wanted? And then I'm in this and then I have to like get out of it. And I remember like during one of our coaching calls, I wanted to manifest doing one of my healing parties in Los Angeles. Yeah. And here was my niece saying, Trish, I want you to come out to Los Angeles and do a healing party. And we were on a coaching call. I'm like, I'm scared. I don't think I want to go. And you said, Trish, you're manifesting this. This program works. So you better hold on to your seat because it's happening, you know? Yep. And then I ended up going on a whole beautiful trip in California this year. So it's true. Once you start applying the certain way or these principles and these laws into your life, it works. Yeah. So get ready. Yep. Okay, we have one more break to go to. Time's flying.
It is. We're having fun.
It is. So our last break is actually about my book. If you didn't know this, I am a #1 Amazon best-selling author, and the book is The Beauty of Authenticity. This book came out in May, and it's a collaboration of 22 women, all sharing their stories about their authentic lives. It's an amazing book. I am featuring it it's a great Christmas gift because it's kind of like chicken soup for the soul. Yeah. It's good for men or women, but women in general might identify more. So it's $20 and I just have a small personal stock left. So I will mail this to you or your loved one. It's going to be a signed copy with a personal message inside for $20. So if you are interested in this as a gift for a loved one, send me an email at medhealersinfo. That's medhealersinfo@gmail.com to order your copy. We'll be right back after this. Woohoo! Woohoo!
Hey there, this is Jesse Hall, and I want to remind you to tune into Business Elite Brevard Edition. And what we do on Business Elite Brevard Edition is bring to you some of the biggest movers and shakers on the Space Coast. These could be industry leaders, tech innovators, and social influencers. And what we do is kind of bring them on, ask them some of the most relevant questions that you may not know about. And these are people who may not be in the news, but they are making moves behind the scenes. Again, tune in. Business Elite Brevard Edition.
You're listening to Space Coast Podcast, home of the greatest podcasts on the Space Coast. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor or having your own show, email us at spacecoastpodcast@hotmail.com. Space Coast Podcast. Talk hard!
All right, we're back. Tasha Chen, the one, the only, the legend, is in the studio. She is amazing. I'm Trisha Schmalhofer, and this is BAM, Badasses, Alchemist Mystics. So for our last segment, Tasha, let's talk about all the cool stuff you have that people can learn various things from you. I know you have several Facebook groups. You have manifesting parties that are going on right now, and you have a manifesting event coming up early next year. So let's start with
Well, let's start with the parties.
Okay, and I'm showing, Jesse, you got to hold this up. This is the one I did last year. I'm putting it up on the video.
Yeah.
This is where we met. It was kind of this spur of the moment thing. This was my manifested, past tense, board that I did for 2019. And this, I went and it was a spur of the moment. A friend of mine, Shannon's like, hey, you want to come? This girl, Tasha, is really cool. And I'm like, sure, I have this other thing, but I'll swing by. And I did this, and this is all has come true. Like, everything on here is happening. And I've done several other manifested boards with you in the program.
Yep.
So this year's a little different. This one was in different, like 4 different areas of your life.
Right.
What's the one for 2020?
All right. So 2020 is going to be a big year. We have, it's the start of a decade. And one of the things that I've been really focusing on this year and realizing is that more and more people need support with their finances, with money, right? The reality is, if we can resolve that, so much else in life gets easier. So I thought, how about if I start doing parties to show people how to create a manifested board around their money? So last year when you came to this party, we did one for your life. But this year we're going to do one for focusing on money. And here's the thing. I do this every year for myself. So I do 3 boards every year, one for my life, one for just money, and one for my business. And everything on my money board has manifested. I was saying a few weeks ago that there was one thing that hadn't happened, and I just told you when I walked in, we're still keeping it on the down low, but everything has manifested. Yay. And so I'm really excited to get people together, because I find that people, let's just admit it, when you think about money, you're usually stressed about it.
Yeah, you think of the bills that are
the
due,
bills that you need
enough
to pay. Yeah, you're not in a fun-loving, high vibe energy around it. So when you come to this party that I've created, I will put you in a high vibe, like really forward thinking, really going beyond, like we talked about, your limitations and core beliefs, and looking at what can be possible in your money life.
Yes.
And so we've got 4 areas that we're going to cover. I'm going to define them right now. I'm just going to give you like a preview. Paid in full. We'll talk about that later on. Paid in full, money received, money for a purpose, and investments and profits. And so this, that all sounds so serious. Believe me, I am not your serious girl. If that's what you're looking for, we're not going to have like an accountant's meeting about your money.
Right? This isn't like, like a bunch of like calculators.
Yeah, no calculators and spreadsheet. This is going to be fun. And here's the thing. That might be what you're missing, is that you've been so hard and serious on your money that it's like, think of it like being in a relationship. Like, if you were like that with your partner, would they want to come into your life? Probably not. So we're going to have an amazing time, high energy, lots of fun, and I'm going to show you how to create your money results for 2020 in a fun way.
Yes. And it is, I actually like doing my expense spreadsheet. Like, I like playing with
Only
numbers.
you, Trisha.
I know. Well, Diane, too.
And Diane.
Diane, Tasha's lovely partner, the behind-the-scenes lady.
Yep.
Although Tasha's getting her out a little bit more.
Yep.
But yeah, it's playing with the numbers is really fun to me, and imagining the numbers getting bigger. And so, okay, so this year it is focused on the actual cash money.
Cash money,
coming
baby.
in, because that's how you're going to enjoy life, right? Isn't
Yeah.
that why we're all here?
That's it.
To enjoy life?
Absolutely.
Not to toil and not to stress and,
Nope.
So what about the manifesting event? What is that?
So everything has a story. Remember, I warned you. So the manifesting event, here's the thing. As I told you about coming out of this dark period in my life and really reading The Science of Getting Rich and living the principles, I started creating incredible success in my life. And I realized that this time around, it wasn't my efforting and my smartness and my all that. It was more my spirituality. Like these principles that I was applying. And so I wanted to, my business was growing. It was because of this spiritual stuff that I was practicing. I wanted to go to places that could support both.
Right.
and I couldn't find it. So I was having to go to a business conference for my business side and like Esther Hicks type thing for that side of me. And I want both fed at the same time.
Yeah.
So I created it. It didn't exist. And so I created it. I called it the manifesting event, where money and success gets manifested. And besides doing it because I was seeking it, and I feel as we are becoming more enlightened, more people are wanting to come at life from that easier place of like practicing your faith and your gratitude and employing your beliefs versus your hard work, right? So I think more people want to have that conversation around how to create results. And so that's the purpose of the event. But the bigger vision really is, I truly believe that once a year, we owe it to ourselves to take ourselves out of our regular everyday life and dream. And that's it, right? So at this event, you talked a lot about the things that, the processes that we take you through to acknowledge your limiting beliefs and take you beyond them to create the life that you really want. So for 3 days, just imagine 3 days of getting away from your life, dreaming, being guided to create what you want, and going beyond like, okay, I know when I sit at home and do this alone, like I write my goals for the year, I'm not pushing myself. I'm not. It's like, well, what did I do last year? Let me see if I can put another 2% on top of that. Like, no. We're capable of so much more, but you're not going to pull it out of yourself. You have to be in an environment that will inspire you to do that. And that's what this event is all about.
Right. And even though I touched on a few things that I got out of that event, there is so much more. And having you or the speaker, whoever's facilitating, walking you through it is a whole nother experience. Plus there's lots of music and dancing.
We don't have bathroom breaks. We have dance breaks.
Yes, it's just fun. It's just very uplifting, and going again with the feeling is what God in the universe and source, responds to. So that's wonderful. So what is the date of the manifesting event, and where is it located?
So the manifesting event is January 30th to February 2nd, that last weekend in January, and it's in Stuart, Florida. Beautiful, Stuart, Florida.
It is beautiful.
So come on down, and can I share the website?
Oh,
if
please.
Anyone wants to? Yeah. So if this sounds interesting and you need to do this for yourself, go ahead and go to themanifestingevent.com. Themanifestingevent.com to get your tickets.
If you live outside of Florida, wouldn't it be great to visit Florida during the end of January? Yes. So it's really worth the trip. Now, the manifesting parties, there's one in Melbourne coming up. There's one in West Palm.
So we have 3
Jamaica.
left. Yeah, we've been doing them in different cities. So we have 3 left. We have one this Saturday, actually, in West Palm. We have one in Jamaica. You can absolutely come to Jamaica for this party.
Yeah.
And then we'll have one in Melbourne. So this Saturday, the 14th, is the one in West Palm Beach. January 30th is Jamaica. And then I'll be back up here with Trisha in Melbourne on Saturday, January 4th.
Yes, that sounds right.
Yeah.
At like 11 a.m.
Yes. 11 to 2.
And that's tashachen.com/party.
Yeah.
To register. And
to
that's where the manifesting parties are where you make the manifested boards for your money that we were talking about. And then the manifesting event is the 3-day fun-filled, speaker-filled, exercise-filled, enlightenment-filled event down in Stuart.
Yeah.
So just to clarify. Also, if you want to connect, if someone wants to connect on Facebook, there's the Money Attraction Challenge.
Yes. So if if you've been watching this and you've never met me, I can't believe that, but
everybody knows Tasha.
One of the things that I do twice a year is a money attraction challenge, where for 5 days you literally get 5 days of free coaching around money. And once a challenge is done, the 5 days remain on the website. So I would encourage you to just go to Facebook and search Money Attraction Challenge. The Facebook page will come up and you join it, and we'll take it away from there.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you choose to, go further into the programs, there's Facebook is a lot of ways that you keep in touch. You just started doing Instagram more too.
Yes,
haven't you?
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like the platform for the young people is
Yes.
what I hear. That's what I hear from the youngins, my nieces. And I wanted to shout out to Jillian Ellis, who said hi. She is one of my millennial nieces. Hi, Jillian. She's amazing.
Jillian.
She's a political science major up in Manassas, Virginia. And just started working for a magazine up there. So she's doing great.
Awesome.
So I'm hoping she's listening because you need to make some money, Jillian, but not work so hard. We have a couple more minutes. So we have a couple seconds. I'm just looking. We are at the 0 time. But is there any last minute things that you want to share? I think
You know what? I really just want to encourage everyone, like 2020 is not just another year. It is the start of a decade.
Yes.
The next 10 years of your life. And remember I told you I found my journal from 10 years ago?
Yeah.
And I didn't create the next 10 years. So everything that could go wrong went wrong in the last 10 years. I've come out of it, thank God. But now that I know how powerful I am, I just want to inspire everyone else because I am special, but so are you. You all have this incredible power. Really sit and think about this next year, the start of a decade. What do you want your life to look like? And frickin' create it.
Do it.
Do it.
Embrace your superpower.
Yes.
Make it happen. I know I'm going to.
That's right. You too are a badass.
You are. You all are. Where's the camera? You all are. Bam. So I just want to say there will not be a podcast this Sunday. We're going to skip for the holidays because we had this lovely special edition today. So we'll see everyone back at the beginning of 2020. And it's the first Sunday, which I can't remember. I think it's
The
January
5th.
5th. Yes.
Yeah.
So, but if anyone wants to email me with suggestions, feedback, comments, or if you're interested in sponsoring the show, love to hear from you. It's bamcommunity11@gmail.com. And thank you so much, Tasha.
Thank you. This was fun.
I know. I love you. We'll see you later. Happy New Year, everyone.
We did it.